Hello fight fans, thanks for joining us at MMA Insider. Before we get rolling with today's news, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing. Now let's uncover the latest happenings in MMA. Starting off, Glover Teixeira interested in ending retirement and making UFC return. Moving on, Mackenzie Dern's husband arrested for alleged assault on her ex-husband. Next, Francis Ngannou accuses Dana White of lying over UFC versus boxing paydays. Moving on, Strickland mocks Merab Dvalishvili as the UFC's new king of cringe. Lastly, Conor McGregor thinks Alex Pereira would have given Jon Jones a lot of problems in UFC fight. Former UFC light heavyweight champion Glover Teixeira is interested in ending his retirement. Glover announced his retirement from MMA back in January of 2023 after he lost to Jamal Hill for the vacant light heavyweight title. Since then, Glover has gone into a coaching role as he helps train Alex Pereira. Yet, as the success the Brazilian is having, Glover says he's getting the itch to compete and is contemplating a return. There's nothing booked, but I'll definitely go back to competition. I keep going after challenges. It's hard to stay training with no reason why, so I'll definitely do something. I want to compete. Glover says he's still in the gym, and after sparring with Alex Pereira, the current light heavyweight champion told him to come back. I'll do some jiu-jitsu. I don't know, maybe boxing, or even go back for some fights in the UFC. Hat's gotta be it because it's hard, man. I'm feeling great, fighting hard with the guys in the gym. I've rolled with some wrestlers, training with Strickland and Alex Pereira. I was doing some light sparring with Alex the other day and he's like, Glover, you have to come back. I'm training well, I'm feeling well, I love this. I'm not saying I want to fight, but I want to compete. If it's jiu-jitsu, Lovato, guys like that, I want to do some matches, that's for sure. If Glover does fight again, it's uncertain if he will compete at 205 pounds or if he will go up to heavyweight. It's also not even official that Glover will return, but he says it is something he is contemplating. Glover turns 45 later this month and is 33-9 as a pro. He's the former UFC light heavyweight champion and has notable wins over Jan Blachowicz, Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, Jared Cannonier, Ryan Bader, and Rampage Jackson, among others. UFC fighter Antonio Trocoli was arrested for allegedly assaulting Mackenzie Dern's ex-husband. Huntington Beach police told that the arrest for misdemeanor battery took place on October 4th at 8:30 a.m. It was noted that the Orange County District Attorney's officer is reviewing the case. A statement from the alleged victim, Wesley Santos, has also surfaced. Mackenzie Dern is my ex-wife, and after our divorce, she married Antonio Malvado Jose Trocoli da Silveira Filho. We divorced and have shared custody of our daughter Moa, but Antonio never stopped following me. We had a deal that he would not be part of the custody, but he was always nearby, threatening and disturbing in every custody change. He sent messages through Moa saying he would beat me up, and Moa told me clearly, I dropped my daughter at school this past Friday and was going back home on a skateboard when I saw a white car stop and I started recording. It was Antonio. He got out of the car and punched me, and the car kept moving along, and he ran back inside the car. Cops were called, there were several witnesses, and Antonio was arrested for battery. There has been no response from Trocoli up to this point. Trocoli made his UFC debut back in June. He was stopped by Shara Magomedov in the third round. Trocoli is expected to be back inside the octagon on November 9th. He is scheduled to share the octagon with Tracy Gore for a UFC Fight Night event. Whether or not his alleged battery will impact that plan remains to be seen. Former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou has responded to Dana White's claims that he would have made more money if he'd stayed with the promotion. Ngannou will make his MMA return against 2023 PFL heavyweight champion Renan Ferreira on October 19th in Riyadh. He returns to the cage almost 3 full years since his UFC finale, a win over Cyril Gane at UFC 270. Since then, it's been a roller coaster ride back to the cage for Ngannou. He parted ways with the UFC following a lengthy contract dispute and has headlined 2 boxing cards against heavyweight stars Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. White has made several accusations towards Ngannou since the former heavyweight champion left the promotion. He claimed that the UFC offered him the biggest heavyweight deal in UFC history and that he would have made more than in his first 2 professional boxing fights combined. Ngannou called White's bluff. In a recent interview, Ngannou responded to White's claims. Unless he was the one writing the check, I don't see how he could know that. But for me, as the inside one that was receiving that money after leaving the UFC, and from what the UFC was proposing, it was just a trap. It wasn't a solid contract as well, so that's a lie. Honestly, I don't know anything about what he said. He said a lot of things by now, we're all confused. Ngannou and White's relationship remains complicated despite their business split. If Ngannou's recent comments are any indication, they won't make amends anytime soon. Former UFC middleweight champion Strickland isn't a fan of Merab Dvalishvili's growing social media presence since winning the bantamweight belt. Dvalishvili and Strickland are two of the UFC's biggest fan favorites after their recent successes in the octagon. Dvalishvili, in particular, surged in popularity after defeating Sean O'Malley at UFC 306. Since winning the belt over O'Malley, Dvalishvili hasn't lightened up on his social media pages. He's posted numerous skits, taken shots at some of the UFC's top contenders, and showed off his post-UFC title win celebrations. Strickland, not known to mince words when it comes to some of his UFC colleagues, feels Dvalishvili is doing himself more harm than good. In a recent tweet, Strickland made his case for Dvalishvili as the UFC's new Cringe king. Y'all ever seen Merab's Ig? This man might beat Henry Cejudo with being the king of cringe. Every time I see him, he has some of Ho with him holding a camera, bro. Why? That ain't the way to get famous, my man, lol. While Strickland lambasted Dvalishvili as cringy, he gave him credit for his path to the UFC title. What? He had been next in line for a while. He just wanted to wait out of respect for Aljo. These hoes didn't get him a title shot, lemao. Strickland defeated Paulo Costa in his last UFC fight at UFC 302. He's likely set for a rematch with UFC middleweight title holder Dricus to kick off 2025. Dvalishvili will likely face the unbeaten Umar Nurmagomedov in his first bantamweight title defense. He hasn't lost a fight since 2018. Dvalishvili might be one of the UFC's most entertaining follows on social media. But for Strickland, the UFC's newest cringe king has overtaken the throne. Conor McGregor believes Alex Pereira would give Jon Jones some issues inside the octagon. Pereira has proved to be a big problem for the UFC middleweight and light heavyweight divisions. Alex Pereira was a former 185-pound title holder before capturing gold at light heavyweight. As for Jones, he ran through the 205-pound weight class for most of his career. He became the UFC heavyweight champion after submitting Cyril Gane back in 2023. While Jones versus Pereira is unlikely to happen, McGregor thinks the fantasy matchup could yield an interesting result. During an interview, Conor McGregor heaped praise on Alex Pereira. McGregor even believes Alex Pereira can become a 3-division UFC champion and feels he'd give Jon Jones a run for his money. Someone has to go for the 3 belts. It's myself or himself. I think he poses a lot of problems for Jon Jones also. That's a dangerous style for Jon. But it's a decent one for him because he's not so big. Jon is new to the heavyweight division. Jon, he had a nice one against Cyril Gane, but he's still untested at heavyweight. And I'm sure in the back of his mind, he has that thought that some of the guys are really big, and Alex is a nice one. I'd be very excited to see that bout take place for sure. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Your dedication and support fuel our passion to bring you the latest and greatest in the MMA world. If you enjoyed today's news, please give us a thumbs up and share it with fellow MMA fans. Remember to subscribe to stay in the loop with daily MMA updates. We've got a lot of exciting news, interviews, and analysis coming your way every single day. Your engagement helps us grow and serve the MMA community even better. Once again, thank you for being an integral part of our daily MMA journey.